Welcome to the E-Show with Neil Ravin. Founded in 2013, the EHL has become the college placement leader on the East Coast. Sit back and learn more about the next step in your junior hockey career.
Welcome to the E-Show, presented by the Penalty Box Foundation. The Foundation's mission centers around their daily motto, we take care of our own, as they help out all of those within the hockey community who've experienced a catastrophic event. Learn more at penaltyboxfoundation.org. What's up? My name is Neil Ravin, and this is episode number 124 of the E-Show. On this week's episode, our Team of the Week features continue with the Connecticut Chiefs. Greg Heffernan is getting set for his second year with the program after helping to lead his team to within a goal of the 2022 EHL Frozen Finals. In the interview with Heffernan, the head coach and GM of the Chiefs reflects on what he learned the most in transitioning from NCAA to juniors. Further along, the E-Crew comes together to create the latest top 10 player list of the offseason. I'm joined now by Greg Heffernan, the head coach and GM of the Connecticut Chiefs. How's it going, Greg?
It's going great. Thanks for having me on, Neil.
Thanks for coming back on. I think around this time this past year, I had you on for the first time, introducing you as the new head coach of the Chiefs. Now, with a year under your belt, when you look back on that 21-22 campaign, what are the first thoughts that come to mind?
A lot of fun. And I don't know if it's because it was a new experience or because we were just coming off of a bad COVID experience, or if it was because working with guys in a different capacity, but one of the most fun years I've had involved with hockey as a player and coach. It was really, really great.
When you look back on the season and you move from college to junior, was there an adjustment period or how did the first few weeks play out for you?
Oh, yeah. So, of course, right? So the first few weeks, we took our lumps a little bit. And I think a lot of that was because we elected to go a little bit younger and really go with some guys that we thought we could develop early and turn into a team that would be good down the stretch, which I think really did work out for us. But, I think early on, adjusting to starting earlier, adjusting to more games more often, and really focusing in on less time to get prepared from a team standpoint and from a system standpoint than in the college game. I think, let's put it this way, there's a few things that will adjust for this season coming up here that I think move a little bit more in line to the junior schedule than the college schedule. But all in all, you know what? I think it was a really valuable experience. And I think it actually helped us to take our lumps early last year. It helped us down the stretch to realize it's not going to be easy. So, all in all, you know what? Great experience and a lot of learning things when you're in your 20th year of coaching, when you can always pick up things that you're learning. It's a lot of fun. So
I want to get to that, stretch run, which of course ended maybe being, you can call it a goal away from reaching the finals. But prior to that, you mentioned taking your lumps early on and then getting better as the season progressed. Was there a specific turning point in the season where you felt like, all right, we got our feet wet, now we've turned the corner and now we're heading in the right direction?
Well, I scheduled a little bit, maybe a little over heavy of road games early. I think we had two home games before November 1st. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but I think it was something like that. And I did that by design. I didn't think it was going to be as hard as it was to win on the road until you finish the season and you're 13-5-2 at home, right? So I think going back, I probably would have mixed in a few more home games like we've done for next year's schedule early on. But I think, when we finally got really through the second showcase, I think we got to a point where it was like, hey, it's going to be okay. We're gonna get there, and guys are starting to figure it out, right? So, I think the second showcase was a pivotal point for us. And we also got a couple of guys back from injury at Thanksgiving, which really kind of helped out. So there's no secret there that when you acquire some better players, that it makes things go better.
I'm glad that you brought that up because I didn't even realize this. So you played 3 games in your building prior to the start of December. December 2nd, it was your 4th home game, and then obviously had a few more after that. And then you had the showcase that was in your building December 14th, 15th, 16th, where you won all 3 games. Of course, you had 1 game right afterwards, but did it almost feel like the holiday break was coming at the worst possible time for your team?
No, you know what? Everybody loves Christmas. You know what? I'll tell you what. It's funny. I was thinking about this, and I was talking with some of the people in our organization, and the Monday game I think we played against Walpole might have been the worst hockey game for both teams, and those are 2 pretty good hockey clubs at that point in the year. And that game was like watching paint dry. And Josh and I actually joked about it afterward, like, oh, the boys checked right out after that showcase. So we needed the break. And I know we were on a really hot streak at that point right there, where I think we had won 7 of 9 or something like that. But ultimately, the guys were tired. They were ready to go home and see their families. And you know what, just recharging the batteries, whether it's, you don't like, when you're hot, you don't like breaking, but we needed it. We were beat up. We needed the break. So, it came at the right time, even though people might think that you might have wanted to keep playing.
Yeah, makes sense. And then as the rest of the year progresses, you finish 2nd in your division, which gave you a matchup with the Rough Riders. You get through that playoff series. You bring the Railers all the way to game 3 of that series, which puts you in the wild card game against the 87s, who you force into overtime. As I mentioned before, you were really 1 bounce, 1 goal away from the Frozen Finals. Do you look at it the same exact way?
Yeah, I think the teams that deserve to be there, Neil. Like Marshall played great. When Yosti had to go in, he was great. And at the end of the day, you know what? We made a couple of mistakes with 2 minutes left in the game against the 87s that cost us the bid. And you know what? I was really proud of our guys in the way it goes. But you know what? The 87s, they were a really solid hockey club. I think they might have even tied or beat the league record for consecutive wins. They deserve to be there. Worcester, I mean, it would have been nice to knock off Worcester, but you know what? Sean did such a great job with that, and Coach Odessa does a great job with that program. At the end of the day, we got to the 3rd game, and we felt like they were doing such a good job defensively against us that in the 3rd period, the only regret I have in the 3rd period is not staying the course. We elected to do a couple of things differently, and we hit a few posts early in the 3rd period, but they came back, and because we were a little bit over aggressive, we kind of opened the floodgates for them. And ultimately, the right 2 teams made it there. But you know what? It was great for us in my first year to almost be able to get there. But sometimes in life, getting up the ladder too quickly isn't necessarily a good thing. I think it was good, especially for our returning guys that are going to be good hockey players for us this year and good college players next year. Those guys there are going to understand that it's not easy, and it shouldn't be easy. And I think sometimes getting the wind knocked out of you there, like the New Jersey game where you get scored, where you're up 2-1 with 2 minutes to go in the game, and you give up a late goal in the 3rd, and then you get beaten overtime. It's tough to swallow, but at the end of the day, sometimes those experiences there are going to help our guys in the future and help the future generation of players that are coming through our organization understand what it takes to get there, and understand that it's not as easy as, hey, we're just going to climb the ladder in 1 year.
Yeah.
So
you can say that you set a great bar in your first year with the program. And as the season comes to an end, I'm sure you took a few weeks to decompress and then turn the page to this upcoming year. And I want to get to some of those returners, but at the same time, also talk about players that could have returned, but are going to make the jump to college right now. Jack Devine being one of those players. When he had the chance to commit as opposed to coming back for another season, was that tough for you, or was it an easy?
No, not at all. I helped him pack his bags. Like the deal is, it's fairly simple. Jack Devine's a hell of a player. He really is. And would it have benefited us to have him back? Of course. I mean, he probably would have had 70 points, but at the end of the day, we're trying to help our guys move on. And I'm not doing right by my players to hold them back when they could go and get a great experience. And he got to the school that he wanted to be at and in a great environment at St. A's. And you know what? He's going to do good things there. And at the end of the day, that's what the job is, right? So for me, it's advancement of players. And the more guys like Jack Devine that we help move on the timeline that's their timeline, not mine, the more better players we commit to. And it becomes one of those things where, Coach Sorella has done a tremendous job at the Avalanche. And it becomes a machine when you're able to just advance players and then go and get the next crop of best players and then advance those players. And, ultimately that's what we want to do. And so holding guys back that are ready to play college is not anything that we have. Having Jack Devine in our lineup next year would have been pretty exciting.
Yeah, for sure. It's a great way. It's a great way of looking at it. So then we'll go to a player that is returning, and the first one that you announced as returning in Adam Yost, who, as you mentioned before, had to step in to be the starter in that wild card game against the 87s. Was that an audition for him?
No, so you know what? We knew he was going to be like he's a 3-year guy, right? He's a college player all day long. Now, he's a guy, that we felt like could have been a starter, but Marshall McCallum was playing out of his mind. So it's a good problem to have. And you know what? He's such a good team guy that, and I don't know, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but he was upset because he couldn't get, because he couldn't stop 54 shots instead of 53 against the 87s, right? So, like, true competitor and a guy, that we're very excited about in the future, and I'm excited for his journey. I think he's going to have a lot of options. He was good at East Coast. We knew he was going to be good. Matter of fact, the only time he struggled is when I had to put him in mid-game, and that's not a good situation for anybody. So other than that, every time that he actually started a game, we knew he was going to compete well and he was going to have a good outing. And I think his numbers are reflective of that. So, we're excited about him in the future. And we think that, he's going to give us a chance to win every night. And, every night he's in the net. And we're excited about it. So,
yeah, for sure. And that was the first guy that you announced who was with your EHL team this past season. How extra beneficial has it also been for you to then look at your EHLP team and see some massive defensemen in the likes of Tate Sodden and Oliver Hertzberg, who you have the chance to bring up along the lines of Jared Martin, who you've already announced as well, to be able to dip into that EHLP pool right in your own building? How huge has that been for you as well?
So what's not known is that we've already signed our top line and our top D pair from our P team. You did allude to the 2 defensemen, but ultimately having those guys in our building and having those guys all get man games up, really I look at them as quasi veteran guys. Even though they didn't play the full season, they had an opportunity to practice an awful lot. They had an opportunity to get some man games up. I think Tate Sodden had a goal for us in the AHL early in the season back end. So we look at that as returning guys with some experience, right? So they're going to be a little bit ahead of some of the other guys that haven't played in the EHL before. So it's a tremendous advantage, and it's also something that we want to continue to do year after year. We need to have 4 to 6 guys that develop every single year that are able to come right through the organization and work their way up and then on to college. So you mentioned the 2D. It's always nice when the 2 guys you get to develop are both 6'4". Certainly not going to hurt the penalty kill with those big long sticks. And we're excited. We're excited about those guys there. So yeah.
Do you credit part of the building of what you guys have done to the fact that when you walk in the Newington Arena, that section of the building is all yours and the locker rooms are connected? Does it feel like you're kind of building a family, regardless of if the player is on the EHL or the EHLP team? Everyone's a part of this full Chiefs organization?
Well, and I'll tell you what, having the luxury of a full-time equipment manager in Bob Delasio, he keeps everything organized, but our P room and our E room are connected. And the fact that we have all of that right there, along with our midget AAA program, you're 100% right. It's almost an academy model where that's our building, that's where we are, and that's our home. And we start first thing in the morning, and then we go from EHL practice to video to workouts to midget practice to video to workouts to EHLP practice, and it really does create an environment where when guys are up and down and anywhere in the organization, I say this to a lot of recruits, we're a 50-man roster. We're not a 25-man teams, right? Yep. So, we have guys, and if a guy from the EHL who's an EHL star is bumped up and bruised and wants to practice with our EHLP team, he goes and practices with them. And so it creates an environment where all the guys know each other. And we do some skill sessions where it's everybody that's available to skate at certain times, depending on what their school schedule is. They come and skate. And it doesn't matter which team you're in our organization, you're on our team. It's one locker room, So yeah, it's a fantastic setup, and we're blessed to have it.
That's awesome. And you kind of got to this a little bit earlier, but as the offseason has progressed and you've turned the page from your first year and the lessons that you learned in your first year to year two, what were the first things that you identified, maybe even with the scheduling, that you said, this is what I'm going to do differently in the second season?
Oh, number one. Now, when I took over last June, the cupboards were bare, right? And understandably so. But any successful program has been doing their recruiting during the season. So right now we're in a situation where we have a lot more options than we did in June of last year. And that was number one priority, was to make sure that we're building our team throughout the season so that when we get to the summer months, we're adding pieces of the puzzle, not trying to figure out what the puzzle looks like. And then the other thing is that when you have the opportunity to go out and create a schedule that makes a little bit more sense, and now you know the landscape of the travel and such. And I think, one of the things, I think we opened with the first game of the EHL season, and I had to actually go to you, Neil, and get permission to do that. But it's right down the road with the Connecticut Rough Riders, and it just made a lot of sense from a travel perspective, especially with the showcase dates moving. And now that we're under self-governance, which is a fantastic thing for the league, it made a lot of sense to kind of build the schedule in a little bit different way, given the experiences that I had last year. And I think, like anything, when you're going through it the first time, you're in a situation where you're looking for ways to improve, but you're also just trying to survive the junior hockey season in a lot of senses. So, between the recruiting and the scheduling and the fact that, there's some other ways to, provide some experiential things for guys and tweak the way that we want to form practice and shape our team development and our individual skill development. Help our guys with maybe some initial visits to college in the summertime. I think all of those things are things that we may not have had a great opportunity to do last year because I was new, but we can really, do a better job of that this year.
Yeah. And for a last question regarding this year, I'm not sure if you have specific goals set, but to have 7 kids commit this past season, plus, as we've mentioned a few times, make the stretch run, the playoff run that you did, is it as simple as setting the bar above that for this upcoming season defines success? Or for you, what will define success in your second year?
Yeah, no, as far as setting the bar for success, here's the thing, like everybody else, you define a successful season with a championship trophy, right?
Yes.
That and every single player on your team commits to college, right? And well, we know that only one team gets to walk away with hardware, and it's next to impossible that every single kid is going to commit in one given season. I think we will have this over the summer, maybe 1 or 2 more commits to get our number up to, 9 or 10 guys that'll end up committing to NCAA before September rolls around. And the other thing too is just on a side note, like it's a testament to the league and what you're doing here, Neil, with the league and the commitments, because this portal with the COVID year and the extra year that kids can play, it's been a challenge for some of these guys that are the 01s and 02s, and the testament to you and the league of being able to promote guys and get guys placed into college and use the shield, so to speak. Nothing but great things. But back on track there. I think for benchmarks, like, we want to just continue to improve every day, right? So whatever those goals are, just get better every single day. And we hope that, we're getting a little bit better and are able to, we finished in second. I'd love to finish in first. It would be fantastic. We lost in the divisional championship. I'd love to win that one. I mean, it's incremental goals, and understanding too, though, that every time that we get an opportunity to move a kid on to college, I'd sacrifice wins all day long to do that. So even though most of them are go hand in hand, right?
Yes.
So.
Well, that's what it's all about. And I appreciate the kind words, and I also appreciate you coming back on the podcast for the second time. So I hope that you get a chance to enjoy a little bit of the off season while finishing up the recruiting, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks again to Greg Heffernan for coming on the podcast this week, getting our Team of the Week top 10 features back going again. And let's bring in this week's E-Crew. Jeff, Anthony, I promised you it would only be 2 weeks, and it was only 2 weeks this time.
Hello, boys. Good to see you both.
It's been a while. I know I'm not sharing the video, but I think I do look tanner than I was before. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I was trying not to.
A little red tint too.
Yes.
We both tend to get a little red.
Spent enough time in the sun while in Hawaii, and I spent enough time on an airplane.
So just got in some walking on a golf course at the U.S. Open in Brookline the last couple
my
of days.
God, dude. So
a few steps there, bud, huh?
Yeah, a few steps, 30,000 steps later.
30,000 to be exact.
Yeah. So it makes up for, I think I spent a total of 18 hours on an airplane combined, because we flew direct from Boston to Honolulu. So, but hey, for anyone that's looking to go to Hawaii, do it, because if you could find a way to sleep for like 2-3 hour segments, half the flight's already over. Then just watch a movie, right?
Boom.
So,
and you're there.
But let's get into the Chiefs now. We've kind of bounced around so far this offseason with teams that have a deep history so far, some teams that have a very short history so far in the league, and then you get kind of in the middle, a team that is heading into their 5th year. And I think what you can say about the Chiefs is it feels like every season they take one more step forward from the previous year. Do you guys feel that same way?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I think Coach Heffernan, who you just spoke of, joined us for the interview. Thanks, Coach Heff. I think him and Trent Samuels-Thomas are a good coaching staff. They both have good hockey minds. We all talk to them at the showcases, and I feel like that's kind of what stabilized this team, is having those guys come in, and they've been able to succeed from there. They both have been able to recruit some good guys. I mean, we saw last year with Jack Devine and Justin Harshaw, Marshall McCallop, all guys that were part of our different all-star features, and guys that produced, and guys that are going to college now. So we always talk about what the EHL is about. It's about advancement, and all those guys advance the proper way. So yeah, it starts, obviously Brandon Johnson, the owner too. The ownership has a big part to do with it, but I think Coach Heff and Coach Samuels-Thomas are the driving forces behind the Chiefs.
Yeah, and I think with the Chiefs too, looking at their on-ice play, because I got to see them quite a bit for the EHL and EHLP, they have some players who are super talented, and they also play a style where it's just a very physical brand of hockey where they throw the body around, they block shots, they kind of do it all. And I think that just boils down to good coaching, good staff to help them out. And they were one game away from reaching the Frozen Finals this year. I know they went up in the wild card game against the 87s. It went right down to the wire. They didn't even have McAlpin in goal that game. They had Adam Yost, and he was nothing short of brilliant. And I had actually spoken with Adam Hooley about that wild card game last week, and we talked about this one glove save that Yost made. And I said, did that remind you of the one for the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Knights with Walker making that save on Tarantino? And he started laughing. He's like, yeah, I thought about that a little bit, but fortunately they were able to get over the hump. But I mean, Yost was so great that game.
And the first player that they announced as coming back, right? I think
you could say that was an audition of sorts. He passed the audition.
There was some episode that we talked about the fact that was like an audition, like a test, of course. And they were, Anthony says, one game away. They're one bounce away, right? Like we've talked about it at numerous occasions on this podcast. Like, what if they get the bounce in overtime? And up north, the Rangers get the bounce over the Wolves in overtime. We're looking at a totally different Frozen Finals. And the whole thing may play out totally differently because of that, right? So I don't know if Yost is part of this top 10. Maybe after next season, we'll see what he does in a full year with the program. But to just dig into some of the top names that we could talk about here, because there are going to be a few interesting situations that we've discussed before where you get a player like Kei Yasuda, who was on the 87s, but also played for the Chiefs for a season. So I think we'll start, though, at the very top with I don't think we've missed the leading scorer for any team so far. No. I think we always have to include the leading scorer. Zach Withington was the captain of the Chiefs their very first year. For those that don't know this, the Chiefs were a purchase, sale, and relocation in Connecticut. They were the Connecticut Oilers the year before. So in 2017-18, that's when the original Oilers, the team that's been in Norwalk for the entirety of the league, changed the name to the Rough Riders. That's still there now, Eric Lind and Stephen Brown. But that Oilers name went to Hamden, Connecticut, which in Hamden is Quinnipiac, where I went to school. Just gonna plug that in real fast. The Oilers had a season there in Hamden and then sold to the Chiefs, who at the time had a youth program, wanted to add juniors. So that first Chiefs season was that 18-19 year, and Zach Withington was the captain that season. He put up 56 points in 40 games. And when it comes to being a first-year team, you need leaders just to help get you started. And obviously, they were not the best team in the league. It's hard to win as an inaugural franchise, but he was a true leader for that team. And yeah, I mean, he's listed as the all-time scorer here because you kind of have to combine the Oilers and Chiefs numbers together. But what he did in those 2 years in the EHL, 91 points, like, we'd be remiss to not include him as part of the top 10. So we'll start there without a doubt with Withington.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said too, Neil, the thing with some of these teams, how it changes. I mean, goalies, it's hard. We've had a real hard time being able to put goalies unless it's a organization like we're going to do the Rangers at one point, and they've had a bushel of goalies. So some teams are different than others, but like Anthony was just saying, these guys play a more grinding style. So like Withington was probably one of the best, pure goal scorers that they've had. Besides guys like Harshaw and Devine that they weren't there for very long. They were there for individual seasons, whereas Withington was there for a couple of years. So, I mean, these guys aren't going to have those eye-popping statistics like some of these other high-octane offenses like we've done before. But, also, I can't believe I named off all those good Chiefs from this past season and forgot to say the captain, our biggest fan of the E-Show, Dominic Cherko. Whoops.
Should we go back to back?
If you're listening.
Should we go back-to-back captains?
I think Dom absolutely has to be on here. That was a heck of a player, and just a great personality too. Even did some broadcasting at one point. I remember he called a couple of games in a pinch this year for the Chiefs, and I remember talking to him about that. But Another kid that he's going to SUNY Brockport, if I remember correctly. So
Yeah, we get to play against him this
congratulations to
fall.
Captain. Yeah, that'll be trying
That'll
to
be
put
fun.
EHL guys through the boards instead of the opposite. He was trying to put the college guys through the glass. Now he's like, hey, welcome.
I can
Like a
say one
fraternity.
thing. He's got a heck of a shot from the blue line, Cherico.
Yes. Yeah.
He scored the overtime winner
Game
against
winner.
the Boston Junior Rangers at the showcase.
Yep.
And I was doing ringside reporting for the last regular season game for the 87's EHL team. And if I remember correctly, Cherico also scored a goal from, I want to say like just above the top of the circles. And it was a laser beam.
Yeah, it was the old-fashioned, like we like to call it, the back scratchers. I remember stick to the ceiling. I think I called that game actually, if I remember correctly too. And yeah, and he's just a good mix too, right? For a captain, he has that good personality. He'll always be smiling. He always, yes, very vocal. But like he has that good split of he was very serious, but he was also very like he tried to keep guys making sure everybody was having fun, but knew when to flip it on, flip it off, when to be the serious captain, when to be, you know, a little more lively and put the life into the room. So yeah, we're going to miss him in the EHL next year. But as you said, Neil, we'll see him in the college series against Brockport. So don't go easy on us, will you?
A ton of guys. I feel like we got 10 guys going there.
Oh
I'm
my
trying to
God.
find
Right.
the video. Were you on the call for that overtime winner? I think you were, Jeff.
I think I was.
Because
I
that was on
remember
the far end of the building in Exeter.
Yeah.
We have to stand on the ledge sometimes.
Mhm. Yep.
It's not a terrible spot, right?
No. It's not a terrible spot.
You make do with what you have to do when you have to
Yeah.
sometimes, right? So
We love our rinks for all their little quirks.
but with that overtime winner, I was actually watching it in the corner. Have you guys seen this?
Oh, look at that Karolewski save right there.
So I don't know if you've seen
There he
this.
is. Oh.
So here's the overtime winner, right?
Yep.
Look behind the glass. Oh, no, I don't. Maybe Trevor cut me out of this one.
Oh.
So, yes,
How
in
dare
this
you.
version, Trevor found a way to zoom in a little bit. I am right here. When he lets the shot go, my jaw kind of dropped a little bit. And then I was like, oh, I'm probably on camera. I should get out of here. So I like turned and walk.
Or from you going, oh my God, to
Yeah,
Neil
so I
running
actually turned. Oh, like you can see me there. Actually,
Oh,
he
you
didn't
are,
cut me
yeah.
out of this one.
away.
So
Oh, yeah.
I realized that I made a face, so I turned and walk away. And Rich pulled me aside afterwards. I was like, I know it was a good shot, but you got to hold your reaction. And I was like, I didn't even do anything. It was not like I was banging on the glass. I just made a small face. Like
Yep.
I was like, ooh, what a goal. Like it's tough not to react like that, right? It was an
Yep.
overtime winner, and they went nuts.
Yep. Oh, there goes
Look,
Neil walking
There
out.
goes me walking away.
Up the ramp behind the coaches.
We are hockey fans first and
Oh.
foremost. All right.
Yeah.
If it was someone on the Rangers, if it was someone on the Chiefs, doesn't matter. A good play is a good play. And that overtime
Absolutely.
winner fits the bill. So I don't think you're on the wrong at all there, Neil. Let's be honest.
Thank you.
Well said, Ant-Man. I totally agree.
I
Because
appreciate
it is.
that.
We all call games, and that's what happens. Like, if we did not get excited, would people tune into our like, oh yeah, another goal, nice.
Neil, if you were talking like one of the players
listen to
going,
that.
ew, gross, then maybe that would be cause for concern. But
Yes. Fair point.
Nobody
So-
wants to listen to a stale product. You know?
Yes,
I love
exactly.
saltines, but I get made fun of for liking saltines because they're plain. And we're not saltines. All right.
Yes. So we got two captains so far. We got Zach Withington and Dominic Cherico. One from the first year of the Chiefs and one from the most recent year of the Chiefs. So that's 2 of the 8. You know what I haven't done so far to make our lives even easier is pull up last year's all-time team. I don't know why I haven't done that for you guys. Maybe because we haven't done
I
this.
like mixing a match.
We haven't done this in 2 weeks. That's why.
Yeah, we're getting back on the bike.
So I actually remember now the first name that we put on this.
I was just gonna say his name too.
Man, you want
The beard alone.
maybe at some point during the season we come up with
An all
the
beard.
toughest team in EHL history, like just like willing to block a shot with your face team, right?
Yeah.
Like
oh,
Max Phillips would block a shot with his face if he had to win a hockey game.
Yep.
Like he was tough as stones. 2 seasons with the Chiefs, put up 56 points. Another captain.
Oh, yep.
Maybe that's the trend here. we got to just stick with captains the whole time.
Right.
But he had 38 points his first year, 26 his second year. A kid from Minnesota. I think we'd be really wrong.
Deer Creek High.
Yeah, I don't know where that is in Minnesota, but it's an awesome name.
I'm gonna keep saying it. Look at his beard. Just check out his beard.
177 points in 97 games. His high school stats are just insane.
Yeah.
And run through a brick wall.
As Jeff keeps saying, look at his beard. Yes,
we're gonna do an all beard team.
All beard toughness, willing to block a shot with your face team. Max Phillips, captain.
His dad used to always was a big follower of ours on social media too.
He was a huge fan of the podcast. You're right.
Yep.
I think we got a message after almost every episode, including probably this episode.
Yep.
So that's 3 so far, 2 forwards in a D. Let's make it 3 forwards because I think it's kind of disappointing, but also exciting for this kid. I wish Jack Devine could come back, right? He's only an 0-2. Like he could come back for one more year, but he's going off the same A's this fall. In that one season in the league, he had 51 points in the regular season to put up 6 more points in the postseason. He was legit. I would selfishly,
he was pretty filthy.
Selfishly, I'd like for him to come back because he'd probably be a part of our team against Jericho in Brockport in the fall.
He's only 19.
He's only 19, right?
I mean, he's smart. I like to see a younger kid go to college too, because like that's the issue with some of these guys too, is they're getting out of college now and they're like 28, 29. We're all out of college for like 7, 8 years by that point.
my favorite
kids now in college. It's like, geez.
My favorite Divine moment this season. I was on the bus ride back from the Worcester showcase because I travel with the 87s, and I was watching the Chiefs play on hockey TV, and it goes into a shootout, and Divine pulls the Datsuk, where he fakes the shot. He's a left-handed shot, so he cuts to his right, but stays on his forehand, so he just kind of drags it back. And he has a wide open net to shoot at, and I'm just staring at my phone, mouth agape. Neil thought he had a big reaction. I was just looking at my phone screen like, oh my goodness, he really pulled that off in a shootout.
Yes. We have Trevor's video of that somewhere. I won't be able to find that one as fast as the other one.
I picked him for fantasy. I picked him at least twice. I remember too. He was a great goal scorer
and a huge help for us in Providence. Because I'm not sure if you guys knew this.
He worked down below. He's a Rhode Island kid.
Yeah, he didn't work. He just stopped by quickly because we were running out of pucks, and he went and got more pucks for us.
I remember I came over to you. He goes, "That Jack Devine?" That kind of looks like. He goes, "Yeah, he used to be Greenwich. He's like from down this." I was like, "Oh, I thought I recognized him." He was giving us all some head nods and stuff, and I was like,
"If we're going to be talking about players helping for the EHL Frozen Finals, I think we do have to give another shout out to Owen Johnson, who is basically Bob D'Alessio's right-hand man.
That's right.
And Chris Russo and I actually were hanging out with Johnson in the hotel after we had gone out to eat before the first couple of games. And just a great kid. And we've had a couple of players also like with the 87s where they help out either the camera, the scoreboard, where you can tell how much these players love the game, where even if they're not playing, they just want to be around it. Yes. So for him to help out the entire Frozen Finals, those 12, 13-hour days, helping out D'Alessio, I mean, kudos to Johnson. And like those are always great to see, those players helping out.
Yeah, Bob is the only equipment manager in the league, I do believe. So
Bob could even make this Chiefs list. Bob is that epic, and everybody's.
If we get stuck at number 9, maybe. I'm sure he's
just put it in there now.
He's hoping right now, but they were excellent.
Very least an honorable mention.
Yeah, Bob and Elwin.
Brandon would totally be fine with that.
Yeah, they were a huge part of helping pull off the finals the way that they did. So you got Greg and Trent coaching the EHL team, Jeremy Gerhardt, who's coached the P team, Bob, Owen, Brandon, Ike Corvo, a former NHL player who's a huge asset for the Chiefs as well. They have a full staff there. So it's been great to see, and it's helped them bring in players like Devine, right? And just to close the story before, we ran out of pucks because when you have all the logo pucks at the finals, the second these went into the crowd, we never got them back.
Because you did too nice of a job on them. They were like,
Like
"Ooh,
they
I
like,
like this."
I honestly think I saw too many people just say, "Oh, it has a logo pocket."
Yep.
So so it was actually OJ, I think, who said like, "Hey, we need pucks," and Jack is like around the corner, like he'll go get them for us. And yeah, without him, we probably didn't have warm-up pucks for the entire rest of the finals. All right, so that is 4 guys so far. Where do we go next?
Any goalies?
I don't know.
I'll
I
go
was
to
gonna say
goalie.
I think McCallum might be their most games played.
I think there's 2 goalies that have actually there's 3
Mella,
goalies that we
too.
should talk about here.
JP
So
Mella.
I don't think this goalie is going to make the list, but I want to talk about him first because Gabe Couture was on the original Chiefs team. And I touched on it a little bit earlier, how hard it is to come in as an inaugural franchise, right? And get your feet wet at the same time being competitive. And I remember there was a game against the Avs that the Chiefs lost like 3-1, and he had like 62 saves. And I was like, maybe that's exaggerated a little bit. Maybe not. I don't know. I'll check Instat afterwards, which was the company that we're using at the time for the computer analytics. And yeah, it was spot on. He had 62 saves. And Chris Orell was like, I'm trading for that kid. I was like, I don't know if they're going to trade him to you, but like, yes, he is damn good. Like he was a part of that original Connecticut Chiefs team, ended up at Bryn Athyn, a D3 program that no longer exists. So now he's at USM, University of Southern Maine. I don't know if he makes this list, but he was a great like foundational piece to the goalie position for them, leading to what they eventually brought in. I mean, I think JP Mella and Marshall McCallop are both on this list. JP Mella, if we want to talk fantasy, Jeff, JP Mella was one of the reasons why I won fantasy. Yep. That year I won fantasy. He was a stud for the Chiefs. He's probably one of the best goalies we've had in the league, which is tough to say when you look at the numbers. But then look at the numbers at Trinity this past year. 11 games with a 1.48 and a 9.44. Yeah, I know it's Trinity and they're a really good program, but like he's that good also. I would put both JP Mella and Marshall McCallop on this list. McCallop, originally a Worcester Railer. People forget that.
I was saying I definitely forgot that. And look at Mella too. Mella played for the Gunnery and Shattuck St. Mary's, 2 other massive programs leading up to that. Oh, and the Flin Flon Bombers. I'd love to talk to him about that. Who the heck? In the SJHL.
One of the best team names out there, right?
Flin Flon Bombers.
But for McCallop, he was playing P for the Railers. Wanted the chance to get a few EHL games in down the stretch of that 1920 season. What our teams do so well. They help guys get a chance to maximize their exposure. A short, brief end of the season stint with the Chiefs in 1920 led to him going back to the Chiefs in 2021, being the starting goalie this past year. And I want to say the top goalie from our All-Star Classic for the red team.
That's right.
Almost willed them to a victory over Jeff's blue team.
Couldn't get over my man, Jack Boschert. He was a little good. He was very good. Who's my other goalie? I think I had Adams from the Spartans.
Yes.
Seacoast. Yep.
So I think both Mella and McCallop have to be a part of this. McCallop going off to UMass Dartmouth. An awesome class of players going there. He's one of 2 goalies. He's also going with Pat Alto from the East Coast Wizards. So I think we'll hear a lot about McCallop, though, when he gets to UMass Dartmouth. So we'll put Mella and McCallop, which brings us up to 6 total players so far. We're cruising right along with the Chiefs.
Don't forget to type him in the list, Neil.
I know.
Oh, yeah, we don't see it up there.
I can't type fast enough, Anthony.
Well, no, you got JP Mella in there. You don't have McCallop in there yet.
I know. I'm trying to get the years down. That's my struggle first. I haven't been typing in about 2 weeks, Anthony. You gotta cut me a little slack. Stuck on a beach.
Get back to home row. Get back to your typing class.
I also wanted to ask
years
Neil
ago.
that tan you have, is it just a little too tan, or are you just repping the Chiefs colors?
Oh my God. Hold on. Let me put the light on here because I think it's the glare of my computer. Give me a second. All right. It's tan. It's not pure red. All right. And if
A
it is
mixture
red,
of tan red.
it will blend into a more tannish color soon. But hey, Vicky's very happy because the golfers get that white forehead
From the hats.
Yes. Not going to have that this year.
No.
Did not wear a hat very often in Hawaii. So that's 6 guys so far. And I want to say that's the first time we've done two goalies.
I was just going to say, we just talked about goalies are hard to make. And they're like, just throw 2 goalies on there. But no, they're well deserved.
I think they both deserve it, right? Like when we go back and look at the all-time team list, Mello was on that list, right? Cherico was on that list. Yasuda was on that list. Is Yasuda a top 10 Chief?
I mean, because it's tough because they're another team that doesn't have a lot of time in this league. So like those tweener guys are a little easier to make some of these lists. I mean, I just saw a couple more guys that we were announcing this year with the Avalanche, Santoro and Gordon. Jason
Neil,
Gordon
I'll put
had
it this
25
way.
goals one year for the Chiefs.
Neil, I'll put it this way. If there is a player who deserves to be on multiple lists, I definitely think Kei Yasuda would deserve to be one. Because he was no slouch when he was on the Chiefs. He was still producing over a point per game.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he continued his success with New Jersey. So I would put him on that list.
I forgot that's 37 points in 32 games for the Chiefs. So he was on a path to become a Withington type if he had stayed with them longer. And then, like you were just saying too, Anthony, when he came over to your New Jersey 87s, he was a monster. He led the league in points for quite some time in that 2020 season. Actually, he finished as our leading point leaguer, I think, that year.
Yes, he did. We'll put him 10th on the list.
See if he gets knocked off or not.
Yeah, I mean, if there are more players who are longer tenure that deserve to be on the list, then by all means.
No, I'm saying like, right now, with him included, we have 7, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We just need to fill in slots 7, 8, and 9 because he's holding slot 10. It's not.
I mean, when you look at that list, though, like we said, like there's a lot of guys that played just one quick year and were good, but they've been good elsewhere. Jason Gordon, Toivo Kramer, he's another one. He went over to the Apple Corps.
He came from the Apple Corps.
Over there. That's right.
Yes.
So there's a lot of mixed type guys. Declan Bronte was another good one that came back this year. The Australian native that had a really bad knee injury, but then was able to come back and actually, I don't know has he aged out? Bronte, is he able to come back or not? Or no?
So many players. He has aged out. I think he's still.
Is he still a free agent? Yeah.
He's playing in Australia.
There we go.
He's playing for the CBR Brave.
Yeah, his older brother played for the local Scranton Knights and is playing Division I hockey now. So I got to cover both Brontes. Just both exceptional hockey players.
Is Bronte on this list? I would put him on this list. You know what's great about that? I don't know anything about the AIHL. I'm not going to even act like I know something, right? Australian.
That's the Australian league he's in.
Australian
Independent Hockey League.
Maybe an independent. I don't know what the I stands for, right? But the team he's on, EHL alum, Casey Kubara.
Oh,
right.
Look at that.
EHL alum, Bailey Kubara.
Yep.
I'm assuming there's some relation. Tyler Kubara. I'm assuming there's still some relation. Toby Kubara. But this is an EHL alum team. You could make the case, the CBR Brave. I'm gonna have to reach out to their social media guy. We're gonna have to have him on.
CBR Brave.
We're gonna have to have him on for an interview so we can learn more about what the AIHL is, because that's where Declan is right now. I think Declan's on this list. if he didn't have the injury that kept him out, honestly, let's look at the exact when he returned, because I want to say,
I remember it was a showcase, because actually it was shout out to Coach Sean Walsh that told me about that. I think it was at the Newington Showcase was his first games back.
So yeah,
this
he
year.
joined the, let's see, career stats. Here we go. He joined the Chiefs partway through the 2020 season, and he put up 21 points in 36 games. Right. He had 13 more points this year in 24 games. So projected out probably similar numbers if he had got to play the full season. He didn't play a single game in our league this year until December 14th.
Yeah, that was Newington.
What if he gets September, October, and November prior to that, right?
Standings could have been a lot different.
Could have been.
Put Bronte and Cherko on the power play together in the back.
Lethal. I think he's
also
the
just a quick thing about the AIHL. It is the Australian Ice Hockey League. It is the Australian. This is also by Wikipedia, just as a disclaimer. So say what you will, but it says it is Australia's top level ice hockey league, established in 2000. The AIHL is sanctioned by Ice Hockey Australia, who is a member of the IIHF, the International Ice Hockey Federation. Apparently, it is a semi-professional league. Players receive a variety of benefits, such as weekly stipend, travel expenses, motor vehicles, and accommodation. The champion is awarded the Goodall Cup, the world's third oldest ice hockey trophy, the first one being awarded in 1909.
Wow. So, different question, or change of question. Do we want to have them on for a Zoom interview? Or do we want to just go there and check it out?
I say both.
I would have no problem going down to Australia.
We can stop in Hawaii. Perfect.
Hey, done.
I mean,
see all your old friends or new friends you just made.
I
always wanted to go to Australia.
Here's a question. For us being on the East Coast, is it faster for us to go west or east to get there?
Oh, man.
I wouldn't even know.
I don't know either. That's a hell of a question. That's a popsicle headache.
Yeah, we're getting into these. The Earth is flat.
Oh, we're into the weeds now. We are off the rails now.
But we'll add Bronte to this list, which gives us 8 guys so far,
including Yasuda. Yeah,
including Yasuda, which I think, as we keep talking here, I think he has to be a part of this. A name that Jeff mentioned before was Toivo Kramer. In terms of
big guy, he used to hit like a brick.
He joined the Chiefs late in the 2020-21 season, right? But put up 21 points in 25 games.
I'll say had 3 goals in the playoffs, 18 and 21 in the regular season. Yeah.
After 49 with the Apple Corps the season before.
He was a captain there too. That's why I remembered him with New York.
And like, we're not going to combine USPHL numbers with EHL numbers. We typically don't do that, right? But I'm going to do really quick math here, right? Watch how fast I can do this, guys. That's 97 points to his career in 3 seasons.
Yep.
I 15 points as a freshman at Pittsburgh State, 22 games. I'd put him on this list.
I'll put him on. I'll give you the vote.
I know it was brief, his time, but he was a huge reason why that 2020-21 team won their first ever playoff series. That was against the Seahawks.
That's right.
In Springfield.
Yeah, that's right. Jimmy K was on the call for that, because then they went and played the Express in the second series that year, if I remember correctly, and I ended up calling a game or 2 in that series.
Toivo did not score the game winner that sent the Chiefs off to to face the Express. But do you remember the line that Jim used?
That was that the Arby's? Everyone gets Arby's? We're out of here.
Yes. I think it was.
Just talked to Jim recently. He said he would love to be on the E Show at some point next year. Another guest, so we can start lining up next year.
We'll have an exclusive interview, 1.5-hour episode.
Oh my God.
I think that was Life is Short enjoy Arby's.
Arby's.
I think that was the overtime winner call.
For your 2020 Connecticut Chiefs.
I think it was Ashton Jones who scored the game winner.
Wow, good memory.
Dude, it's coming back to me. So we added Kramer, we added Bronte, we added Yasuda.
One left.
Hunter Rossi, maybe?
Hunter Rossi.
Hunter Rossi, that's a good one.
I would go there.
Another big E-show
43 points in 41 games. He only has one season with the Chiefs, and that was this past season. But
I was going to say Rossi or Davis, too. Davis was a good one this year.
Rossi could come back.
Oh.
So I'll make the same pitch to him that I made to Divine, because Divine's already committed. He won't change his mind. If Hunter wants to come back, I will hold a spot for him on the All-Star team to face his former teammate in Jericho. I will hold a spot for you, Hunter. It's all yours. You're on the All-Star team. Just send me a message that you're coming back. Well, let Greg go first.
There's a little pizza thrown across the middle. Does Jericho try to line up his old boy, or does he pull up? Or
you know what's funny is like you don't realize the attention that those games are getting until after they're over, right? Like I'm going way off track again. I'm sorry. So I went to the Red Sox in the middle of all the U.S. Open action that I went to this past weekend because I just couldn't get enough sports. Had to go to a Red Sox game also, but because I was in Boston, and I wore an EHL sweatshirt, and we went on. This is gonna sound lazy. You know the part of Fenway? Anthony, have you been to Fenway?
I've not been to Fenway yet.
So they designed Fenway like they designed the city of Boston. It's just a maze, basically, right?
Jigsaw. Yep.
But like if you've been there enough times, you know where you're going. Mm-hmm. So there's a section of Fenway where normal stadiums are built larger and they put an escalator. You go up. Fenway is like, nope, we're gonna stick with the original design. If you're gonna go up in this gate, you got to go up in this zigzag. You know what I'm talking about, Jeff?
Yep.
Like it's right on Jersey Street. So you got to go all the way up if you're in the top, which after you've walked 17,000 steps, why not add 2,000 more to get your butt up to the top section where I was, right? So by the time the game ended, keep in mind, I had just flown across the world and I went to the US Open and then to the Red Sox. I said, we're taking the elevator down. Little did I know, the elevator down put me on with this guy who went to Plymouth State and wrote the post-game article for when the EHL All-Stars played Plymouth State.
What?
Found it all out in the elevator when I had the EHL sweatshirt on.
You guys were you were at the same game. 30,
and he did say to me,
5,000 people. He
did say to me, did you play in the EHL? Mm-hmm. And I was like, I still look that young. Thank you. Maybe it's Anthony. Maybe it's the tan. So
hey. Gotta keep going to Hawaii.
But to kind of bring it all full circle for this upcoming All-Star team, just to reiterate what I was saying before, Hunter, the spot is yours. Putting you on this top 10, the spot is yours. I mean, this past year, he was huge for the Chiefs. Yeah. Another guy, just like Divine, had 6 points in 6 postseason games on top of 43 points in 41 regular season games. He'd be a huge part of the team if he came back this upcoming season. So we're going to write 2021 present.
Ooh,
hopefully an extra plug, and then that gets us to that last spot which we mentioned before. I know Yasuda got a year and a half with the 87s because he joined them partway through his first season with them, the 1920 year, I want to say, but he was the all-time leading scorer in the league for that 2020-21 season. So all started in that 18-19 year, which was the foundation year for the Chiefs, and he was a huge part of that as well. So I think this is our 10.
What about Kyle McEnany?
Yeah, Kyle McEnany. I mean, he's the one guy.
Some late honorable mentions.
Him and Scott Lawson have a case maybe over Yasuda. Rickert was great for a couple seasons for them. Harshaw was great this past year for them.
Harshaw was great. Yep.
I mean, I don't even know where this defenseman ended up. He was one of the best D, I thought, that first year. Well, late prospects sometimes gets a little too slow if you have too many tabs open at once.
Oh, yeah.
Freddie Ilias. He was awesome. His one season with the Chiefs. Defenseman, 37 points in 43 games.
Ryan Malco was solid at one point too for them.
Yeah, Malco ended up.
Sorella's gotten a lot of old Chiefs up to the Avs. Santoro, Gordon, Malco. I'm like, wait, they're all Avs too. Avs.
There's
He likes those
conspiracy
grinders for his third
there.
and fourth line. Yeah, right.
I think those are good names to mention for sure. I just don't know if they replace anybody.
Right. But still nice each week. We like to throw those names out there and talk about them quickly.
Oh, we have to.
Yeah.
I say we go with this.
I'm in. Anthony, what's your vote?
Sure.
Shall we?
Zach Withington, Dominic Chirico, Max Phillips, Jack Devine, JP Mella, Marshall McCallop, Declan Bronte, Toivo Kramer, Hunter Rossi, and Kei Yasuda. I like it.
I do
It's
too.
a solid top 10. So thanks again to Greg Heffernan for coming on the podcast this week. We will keep these going, I think, right through the end of the summer now.
Beautiful.
I think that puts us right up against the first week of the season. I know we just highlighted the new EHLP teams this past week. All three of them came on the podcast. The two new EHL teams the week before. So we just keep checking off teams each week. So I'll keep you guys a little bit in the dark. I'll figure out who we want to do for next week behind the scenes and then let you guys know. All right?
Ooh, sounds good. Surprise, surprise. See you guys then.
Talk to you then.
Thanks for listening to The E-Show. Learn more at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when next week's podcast is released.